Well, welcome to Life, the Cathedral and Everything. It's good to be with you again. 20 minutes or so in time spent with some wonderful person who's had a part to play in our lives in some shape or form, whether by direct association with the Cathedral or in the wider community. We'll talk about their life, their thinking, their beliefs, in short, what makes them tick. And today we're very, very pleased and privileged to have Donna Birrell with us. Donna, as you know, is a presenter and faith producer at BBC Cornwall. Her Sunday morning show has been a regular part of our lives for many years. She's lived in Cornwall for 15 years, previously working for BBC TV News in London. But she says since moving to Cornwall, she is in the true spirit of community and considers herself massively privileged to witness at first hand the generosity of so many local volunteers and projects. Welcome, Donna. It's very good to have you with us today and being part of our little series.
Well, thank you so much, Roger, and hello everybody. It's a massive, massive privilege. When I got the invitation from you, I just thought, thank you so much. Goodness me, what an honour. I hope I can do it justice, and I hope you don't get too bored.
I'm sure we won't get bored at all. And it's really good to have you with us. And I suppose the first place to kick off is the current situation, the lockdown that we've got. And in your position as being part of BBC Radio Cornwall, you must be gathering information from all over Cornwall. Have you got any particular take on how people are coping, how people are reacting, and the sort of service that you, as BBC Radio Cornwall and as the wonderful Donna Birrell, can provide during this time?
Well, thank you so much, Roger. Yeah, again, it's a huge privilege to be part of BBC Local Radio, particularly at this time. We've always been out and about in the community, but I can't personally remember a time when we have seen just how the community responds to such a crisis as this. You know, we've always reported or tried to report on the incredible work that volunteers do in the community, such as food banks and so on, and pastoral support workers. But at the moment, it seems that everybody pretty much is getting involved in helping their neighbour. And you talk about love thy neighbour, seriously, we are seeing it at first hand every single day. And some of the stories that we hear and are privileged to report upon actually bring us to tears. You know, we have callers into the programmes just talking about the help that they've received and how somebody has gone beyond everything. They've dropped everything to help them out and to help their neighbour in distress. And, you know, this situation is so awful, so difficult, so many people struggling. But there are people there who will do everything to help, and it's incredible to actually be a witness to that.
Thank you, and I think we must not downplay the service you provide as well, because we may know of individual stories, but you tend to pull them all together, being such a great servant of the community as a whole. Do you feel that you're able to link people together in a way and providing that service?
Well, do you know what, Roger? Thank you so much for saying that. Every time I sit in that seat, whether it's on a Sunday morning, a Saturday morning, or now in the afternoons, I feel an incredible responsibility, actually, because people are nice enough to put their trust in you. And if I can play a very small little part in trying to connect people and to get people to reach out to each other and to realise that they can do that, then there is an amazing feeling of, I don't know, it gives me a feeling of tremendous calm, and the fact that people are willing to trust you is huge. And I never take that responsibility lightly. It's a huge, and I've said it again, huge privilege to sit in that seat and to know that people will take their time to pick up the phone and actually come on and talk to you is great. And yeah, that's the power of radio, I guess, really.
I think that is, and in a way, perhaps more so than television, without being too divisive about it, because, well, the best pictures are on radio, as we all know, our imaginations. But I guess people feel they've got slightly more time to develop a conversation with radio more than television. Do you have a take on that at all?
Yeah, I do. I think you're absolutely right. And particularly particularly local radio, because, you know, we all know that news services, television and radio, network news, national news, international news, is doing an incredible job at the moment. But they report the facts, they report what is happening, they report the story, they report the news. What we have the ability to do is to report what is happening on that local level out there in the communities. And I think that's the great difference between local radio and network. The fact that we have the time, we have the ability to get out there in our communities. I mean, we all live in the communities. We are so fortunate to live here in Cornwall. And I have to say, I have never, you're probably the same, Roger, never experienced a community like this, where it's kind of different, really. I mean, I've lived in other places, but this is different for me. And you see it in every village, in every town. And I think that that is the difference. That's what I feel, being part of local radio, the fact that you can report people making a difference, whereas on a network level, it wouldn't make the news because there is far too much to report, really. So we can report the individual stories, the personal stories, the personal struggles, the personal triumphs as well. And that's really very special.
And in your professional career then, Donna, because you worked for BBC TV News in London, I believe, before you came to Cornwall. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into TV news journalism, and was it that brought you to Cornwall, or was it a desire to make a change of emphasis, or was it just a sort of a whim?
Yeah. Oh, well, do you know what? I hope you don't get too bored. It's like, I don't know, it's very odd. I always find it much easier personally to actually ask the questions. I don't, but I'll give it a go.
On the other foot today.
Yes, I know, and you're very good at it as well.
I'm enjoying myself immensely.
Well, thank you. No, well, I trained as an English and drama teacher, and when I finished my training and I did some teaching practices and so on, but I thought, oh my goodness me, that is far too much hard work for me. I don't think I could do that day in, day out, wonderful though it was. So I kind of changed a little bit, and I found myself living in Hong Kong, and I began to work for the television news out in Hong Kong, which was very, very different. It was an English language station, I have to say, so that was fine. And I came, and in fact, I met my husband there, which was great. Then we came back after 2 years, and I decided, goodness, that's the line that I would like to go into, kind of television news journalism. So I did a bit more training and answered an advert in The Guardian, it was, for an assistant picture editor, which basically sounded grand, but it wasn't. It was at the BBC, so I thought that's great, but it was peeling labels off tapes for video news editors, and that was the job. So I did that for a little bit, and then I guess worked my way up and worked in news as a picture editor, and did a lot of travelling around the world, which was great. And then I changed when the BBC brought in what they called multi-skilling. They gave us, if we wanted to, proper training to be a proper journalist, and I did that, and I found myself working on Newsnight and the 1 o'clock news and the 9 o'clock news, as it was then, because it was so many years ago. And then transferred to News 24 as it was when it first started, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Fantastic people. But then our lives changed a little bit because my parents-in-law lived in Cornwall. They lived in Wadebridge, and we used to come down and visit them, and we loved it so much. And like so many people, we used to have our holidays in Cornwall. So my husband and I really grew to love Cornwall very much. But thought, okay, no, that's fine, we'll just dip in and out for holidays and so on. And then my husband got a little bit ill. Fortunately, he recovered. But during those times, when our son was only about 3 at the time, we thought, goodness me, when you are faced with a crisis like that, it puts your life in perspective. And you think, what would I really, if I had the opportunity to get out of this situation, what would we do? And we both looked at each other and said, we want to move to Cornwall. Forget the jobs, forget everything else. Let's just go to Cornwall. And we were lucky enough to get through that situation, and we thought that's what we want to do. And so we found ourselves 11:30 one night, pouring with rain, driving down to Cornwall. We knew nobody in Cornwall because my parents-in-law had moved up country at that time. And we thought, well, this is it. It will either work or it won't work. And it's kind of worked, and we're very, very, very privileged. And I was lucky though, because I was able to transfer down to Radio Cornwall. But so that was good. And that's brought us here, and we've never looked back. It's been a, I have to say, struggle in a lot of respects. Work-wise, for my husband, that's been a bit of a struggle. But you know, every day you walk out and you see the beautiful scenery, and it's just wonderful. But what really made it for us, because I'd never been to Truro actually when we moved down. I'd never been to Redruth, and it's a mile up the road from me, so we didn't know the area really at all. But what made it for us on that very first morning that we'd arrived down here, we walked up into the local village and people smiled at us. And it was pouring with rain, but people smiled at us and spoke, and we said, it's going to be all right. And you know, and it's just amazing. It's the power of those simple gestures. I always say that. You probably find exactly the same. It's the gestures. Yes. It is, isn't it? It's the power of a smile, or you know.
And I don't know if you feel this, but I think over this lockdown, and there are positives to take from it, as well as the sort of, you know, the reasons we're here, and keeping all this situation in our prayers and everything. But it's the small things.
Yes.
You notice, which are actually very big things. I'm noticing that the trees in leaf, the leafing trees, and it's that sort of small beauty which makes the bigger picture, of course. Yes,
it really does. Do you know, one of the joys actually of the last few days, and I know it's difficult times, and I feel bad about saying that because we're fortunate to have a garden. And I'm a terrible gardener, by the way, Roger, terrible, full of weeds. However, I've discovered some beautiful azaleas coming out. And Cornwall is such a spring garden, isn't it? And yeah, just to look at those beautiful azaleas can really lift the spirits.
Yes. What would you say if I would be the essence of the Cornish spirit that makes Cornwall so distinctive? Is it the people? Is it the landscape? Is it the history?
Well, do you know, I think it's a combination. I would say, first of all, when people think of Cornwall, I think you automatically think of the landscape. But what I've learned, actually, it's the people. It's the people within it who make Cornwall the most beautiful, incredible place. And then I think it's actually it's everything really. Of course, I love the landscape. And one of my favourite things to do is to go and sit on the coast and just look at that sea. And of course, I can't do it at the moment because I'm 4 miles from the sea. But when I'm able to go back and look at that sea, I will appreciate it so much. And very often I do take myself off to the coast and just sit and look and contemplate. And there's something very spiritual about that, I think. So yeah, I think it's a combination of everything really.
What drives your values, Donna? What sort of motivates you? What are the things that you would hold on to at the core of your being, would you say?
Gosh, that's a really interesting question. Yes, I know. You're
busy into the sucker punch now comes. Makes Donna, in other words.
Yeah. Oh, well, gosh, it sounds terribly self-indulgent, but I'll give it a go. I think when you see people outside, and I'm looking out the window now, when you see people outside going above and beyond everything to help out other people, which we are seeing right now, and when you see that they're doing it for no personal recognition or reward, that motivates me, and it makes me feel so humble. And that's something else I feel so privileged about in this job, the fact that I've been able to meet some people. For example, I'm going to name one of them, because whenever I think of this person. He's Don Gardner from the Campbell Pool Redruth Food Bank. He works 24/7 with his wife Jen for no personal recognition or reward. And he's doing it right now. I know that. And he's well into his 70s. And we see that all over the place, don't we? Volunteers and people just making this community work. And I think that motivates me, because I think if they can do it, then it inspires me, actually. It really inspires me. I can't do a tenth of what they do, but actually their gift of giving is something that inspires me.
Yeah, and that puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Again, it's the unheralded thing, isn't it, really?
Yes,
that,
yeah.
You know, we seek so much recognition and headline and, you know, and all that, yet it's those quiet acts of generosity that build up to show how warm and humble everything can be, isn't it, really? Hello, Don. I think oh dear, I think we've lost you for a minute here. You've
oh, sorry, Roger, you froze.
Okay, you're back now. My internet connection is unstable. I should say to everybody, of course, this is being done over the airwaves, so we have to sort of rely on the fragility sometimes of these connections. Yeah.
Yes, and you've got a lovely view of my loft ladder as well, haven't you, Roger?
Yes, all the secrets of Donna's spare room are coming out here, I can
all
tell.
The junk.
No, it's just a... now, a slightly lighter thing, perhaps. You've been really forthcoming in all these very serious aspects of the current situation and how you professionally deal with all that. But now, confined to home, what are you doing to, when you're not at work, to you know, entertain yourself? Are you a box set person or a book person?
Yes. Oh yes. Do you know? No, I like nothing more than watching a bit of TV. I do that. I'm not very. I wish I was house proud. You see, but I'm a terrible one for saying always put off until tomorrow what I should be doing now, which is terrible. And that is really, you know, about household chores, because I'm not very good at that. So I would much rather just sit down with a good book, or watch something lovely on the television. I love period dramas, really love period dramas. And of a Sunday night, if there's a period drama on, then that's it for me. That's where you'll find me. Or a good black and white as well.
Well, you see, that's my thing as well. If I ever appear in a period drama, I shan't have to dress up or anything.
Oh, lovely.
You know, I should live 200 years ago to say, you know, to say.
I know, wonderful, how lovely. But yeah, so I love things like you know, dramatizations of any Jane Austen, but my bookwise, I love a bit of Thomas Hardy. Now, Thomas Hardy to me, and I must have read about 12 of his novels. I love Thomas Hardy, and I know some people find it very depressing, but actually the strength and the power of his writing is incredible.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. Yes, that's wonderful. What hopes do you have for the future post lockdown, Donna? I suppose as a Christian priest, I shouldn't say crystal balls. You know what I mean. If you had a chance to, what's your hope for the future? Would you say?
Oh well, gosh.
Words or less.
Yes. I hope that all of the wonderful spirit and generosity. No. Can I start that again? Because that will always be. Because that's Cornwall. I hope that we can reimagine our society, because during this crisis, people have realized, I think, what is really important in life. And I'm going to talk about, you know, the essential workers and who are the really key workers. And they are really among the lowest paid in our society. And this morning, funnily enough, the dustbin lorry went past. And I thought, do you know what? I wanted to go out and clap for them, because they are essential workers, delivery drivers, shop workers, everybody keeping our society going. We have taken them for granted for years and years and years. And I hope that after this, we will all live in a society which is much fairer, much less inequality. Inequality is my big thing. And I think that crises like this actually show, you know, the divisions in our society. because, you know, for example, I'm lucky enough to have a garden to sit out there. So many people don't. So many people are locked away in one room, you know, with a family just crowded up into 1 or 2 rooms. And I think that we need to actually reimagine our society so that we're a lot fairer. And I think something else that actually, can I say, Roger, maybe annoys me or maybe frustrates me a bit, is the fact that, and I'm guilty of doing it as well, thinking about ourselves too much, because we think about, well, I know I do, if I'm all right, I'm okay. How often have I really looked beyond to think about others really in a proper way? And I don't think I've done that enough, and I hope that, you know, this will really change our perception of life, maybe make us all a little bit more compassionate and generous, possibly.
Well, I think amen to that, Donna, and I think I wouldn't place myself in any other category than that as well, because we can all learn to look inwards and perhaps see something that we need to change and adapt to make the world a better place. So thank you for being so honest about that.
No, that's fine.
Now, we try and have a regular feature of these little conversations that we ask our willing victims to of a poem or a piece of literature really is something very important to them. And I wonder if you've got something to share with us this time.
Well, I do have, and I've thought so often about this, because when I've been asked, what is your favourite poem, for example, I always come back to a particular poem. But over the years, a lot of people have said, oh, that's a terrible poem. Because, no, it's true, it has proven quite controversial. And so I thought, oh gosh, if Roger asked me about a favourite poem, I can't really read that one. But actually it is my favourite poem, and I find the words incredibly powerful. So I hope you don't mind me reading it. I know it has imperialistic overtones and so on, but it was written in 1895, I think. And it is If by Rudyard Kipling. To me, it says everything about integrity. So would you mind?
Please, I think that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much, Donna.
All right. So here we go. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on where there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
That's very moving, Donna. Thank you very much. I mean, those words are applicable in every age, in any condition. And so thank you for sharing that with us.
No, it's a pleasure. It's very powerful.
Very, very powerful indeed. So thank you. Very moving indeed.
Pleasure.
I hate to say this, but our time is up. I don't know where the minutes have flown by, but thank you ever so much for being with us, Donna. And in response, thank you. Can I thank you for all that you do to keep us in touch with each other? You have such a warm, humane way of approaching your profession, your broadcasting. You make everyone feel at ease. And may you long continue to, to do what you do, because it's an enormous service to the people of Cornwall. So thank you very much indeed.
That is so very, very kind of you, Roger. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm very honoured that you take the time. So thank you very much indeed. And I hope I've not waffled on too much.
Not at all. Take care, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.